What's going on, everybody? You know, when we do a live show, everything happens. Anything that can happen will happen. So Tom is supposed to be coming on. He's walking his dog. I don't know if the dog's walking him. But guys, this is the Fantasy First Rounders live. We got a new intro. Here you go.
It's 5:30 a.m. Let's be the kid.
Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We are the Fantasy First Rounders. I'm your host, Chris Pinto. With me are my co-hosts, Ryan and Billy. Ryan, Billy, how are you guys doing tonight?
Doing well. What's up, guys?
Doing good, man. Busy day. Excited about the episode tonight.
So Tom is alive. Everybody who's watching, we'll have to wait for him. I'll let him in when he gets in. But guys, we're talking about Scott Fishbowl tonight. Before we get into that right now, Fantasy Cares. Ryan, Billy, let's talk about St. Jude Bowl and our second annual tournament. Oh, and here we go, everybody. The one, the only, straight out of the dryer, Tom.
Boys, I made it. I'm sorry for the delay. You hate to be late, but we're here.
Yep, we're here.
What's up, Tom?
How you boys doing?
Good, man.
Good, man. Ready to get it going, get it on.
Everyone in the chat, Miles, Dursharp, NASCAR, and Triple M, thank you for tuning in. What's good? What's good, guys? Tom, real quick, your thoughts, St. Jude Bowl, before Ryan and Billy get into some bigger things on that's going on?
Oh, man, St. Jude Bowl is going to be a monster. The thing I'm most excited for, it's something I'm new to, but we've talked about it through last year into this year, is the Vampire Leagues, right? I am ready to take those hot takes to another level in the Vampire League and use the hot takes to finally beat some people in a fantasy league as my primary mode of winning, if you will.
Yeah, I'm so excited, guys. We're hopping into St. Jude Bowl, I guess, right? So we have some divisions laid out. We have everybody who has paid has been assigned a division. You may not have been put in there yet just because people are still signing up as we speak. And like
I'm
said,
making graphics for everybody.
Yes, it's we've been getting everything lined up, but we are beginning to assign divisions. If you're that curious, you can message me. We're going to try to get all of that information available to y'all and probably put it in the sleeper channel that we made for the event. So we are excited. It's on now. We know some of who we're competing with. I know we know a few of the names we'll be going against. So it's not too late to sign up. Sign up. Again, it's $20. And last year we gave $1,200 to St. Jude, and we're looking forward to doing a lot more this year.
Yeah, just if you've registered and paid, just sit tight here. We'll get you into your division soon as Chris makes graphics for everybody. We'll get you announced, trying to make a thing of it a little bit as we fill some of these divisions. So, and I'm with you, Tom. I'm really kind of excited about some of these other formats that Ryan's cooking up for us. It's going to be a lot of fun getting to explore and experiment a little bit of this with some of our listeners.
Yes, sir.
For sure. Well, guys, tonight we're going to talk about what's kind of kicking off the fantasy season is St. Jude Bowl soon, but the Scott Fish Bowl, right? A little history on the Scott Fish Bowl. Started off, obviously, Fantasy for Cares. Scott doing amazing things, Toys for Tots, and it's all going towards charity and kids that are very unfortunate. If you don't know about it, go and read. Extremely good stuff. Billy, do you have anything to add? Obviously, you got the invite before I did. So you saw the Fish Bowl, man. How was that? Tell me about your feelings about it. First time into Scott Fish Bowl. So what were your emotions like?
At first kind of surprised, but really excited as we kind of dig in and you see how many layers of this event there are. It's a lot more exciting to be on this side of the event this year. Got in my favorite band, the Incubus division, picking at that 1.11. So pretty excited what I might be able to do there. And been in the chat a little bit with some of the league members, some really cool guys in there as well. So looking forward to that conversation as the season goes on. Just a really cool event, and hey, Toys for Tots. What's better than that?
B Gum, I think we should be live on Facebook tonight on our Facebook account, not on the Rumboyz account. Go to ours, the Fantasy First Rounders Live. There we go, right there in the chat. Scott Davis, what's going on, man? So let's just get right into it, right? Let's get into the Scott Fishbowl formula, guys. We're going to talk about four main things tonight. We're going to talk about my fantasy league. I mean, that's brand new to a lot of people. You guys know how I feel about my fantasy league, kind of like Frank Wright, but in the realm of apps and for fantasy versions, things like that. There is a website. There's an app. They do a lot of things very intuitively, so it's very customizable. I think it might be one of the first. A little, it might be a little older than us. Ryan, your dad might have played on it. You definitely play on it. I play on it now. Billy obviously plays on it now. Tom probably has some IDP on there. But Scott Fishbowl has a lot of twists and turns, right? Mentioned the third round reversal, and you can flex kickers. We'll talk about all these things tonight, guys. This is Scott Fishbowl formula. We are the Fantasy First Rounders Live. So what we can talk about first, guys, is just the format, the synopsis of it, right? There's 1,920 teams, 160 divisions, 20 conferences. The theme is music. So Billy's division, like you mentioned, was Incubus. I made Scott Davis, you know how I like Journey. Ryan, obviously you know how I like Journey. So I made it into the Journey division. I'll get my little Scott Fishbowl avatar here pretty soon. But it's a 22-round slow draft. Guys, we know how slow drafts go. But Ryan, man, let's get Ryan into Scott Fishbowl, guys. Let's get this thing going. There are no defenses. Ryan is not a fan of defenses, and he would like to just get rid of them. Ryan, this is kind of your format, man. $100 blind bids, no trading. I know you like trading, but the no defense thing, I guess, would outweigh it, right?
It does for sure, yeah. Yeah, I'm still hoping to get in. I don't think all the invitations have been sent out yet, so I'm hopeful.
Yeah, there's still, I think, 12% left of the field left to fill, Billy?
Yeah, something like that. It's starting to fill up quick, but hey, at the volume that this event is, there's still quite a few spots. So we'll do what we can. Anything.
So Ryan, you and Billy and Tom talk about my fantasy league. Tom, why don't you start us off?
I will say my fantasy league, I have become a sleeper truther, if you will, right? All but one of my leagues is on sleeper at this point. I started out as an ESPN guy, did a little Yahoo here and there, CBS even, right? But sleeper has really taken over. But the most customizable league I have, which is a in-depth, I think 12-team IDP, just a real in-depth keeper league, is on MFL, my fantasy league. And I will say, as far as the flexibility you have, it's probably the best for that stuff, right? But, as far as usability, the biggest gripe I have, and something that, I don't mean to down MFL, right? But probably the biggest thing is looking at like a singular player, looking at their stats, looking at their information. It isn't quite as user-friendly as some of the other ones. But if you want that nitty-gritty fantasy league, this is the one to have.
Totally agree with that. When I think about nitty-gritty, though, like you mentioned, man, that kind of comes to my mind. Ryan, these are kind of like the leagues that you're in with the weird scoring systems, all that kind of stuff. Take us through your thought process on my fantasy league, because you might be the most versed in this.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I'm a sleeper person, big time. My fantasy league takes money from me, and sleeper does not. It's kind of that simple. It's also a little bit confusing with the menu. If you don't have familiarity with my fantasy league's menu system, some of it doesn't make sense intuitively. Some of it you have to kind of work your way through, feel out. It doesn't, to me at least, it doesn't seem to intuitively make sense. That being said, as Tom mentioned, there's so much more you can do on this. It's I mean, if you have certain leagues, you have to go MFL because they're the only ones that are supporting that. Although this year Sleeper did come out with best ball and auction. So Sleeper's moving up as well. But my fantasy league is still the most customizable. I think it may still be the #1 fantasy site. I'm not positive. But it's just something, if you're in the Scott Fish Bowl and you've never been in an MFL league before, you need to spend some serious time getting familiar with how everything works on the website, because the app is not as easy. You can set your lineup on the app, but if you're really going to be doing stuff, you need to be doing it on the website. And the website needs to be learned how to navigate it through, because it's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff you have to go through.
Yeah, yet again, I agree with that. I mean, this is my third year on my fantasy league's website and using the app for mock drafting with Murph and the 5-yard rush guys across the pond. Oh, hey, good day, mate. I love you guys over there. My chaps. Guys, it's taken me 2 years to get to where Ryan's talking about on the website, where I can actually navigate it and it doesn't frustrate me every time a new league pops up on there. This is something, like Ryan mentioned, just get in there, go use it. If you're a first-time user to this, first-time Scott Fishbowl member, get in there, go play around with it. Man, just kind of, Billy, what's your thought process? Because you're a first-time member to Scott Fishbowl, so you're obviously jumping into my fantasy league. And how are you navigating through all this?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. The scenario you guys are talking about is exactly where I am. This is my first season using MFL, and I'm just happy that there's a website where I can actually sit down and dig into this thing and really get it figured out. I've heard mixed reviews. I'm going to go into it with an open mind. And, hey, it's just another app, just another platform. So figuring out one way how this stuff works might just take a little bit of time, but I'll be spending plenty of time in advance getting ready. So I'm prepared when the league time hits the ground.
Yeah, and Tom, you had one more point you wanted to make?
Yeah, probably the best way to put MFL, to me at least, it's the league that you don't necessarily go to your fantasy app to do your research on a player, right? You do your own research. You know the players you want and why you want them. You're not going to go to your fantasy app and expect to learn about some guy in the 10th round, right? You're going to know who you're taking late in a draft because you've already done that research.
Woo! That was a little slow on my part. Sorry, I was messaging. You guys know how I get when I'm trying to multitask over here. At least I'm not on mute right now, guys. First time you're watching, I'm doing really well right now because I'm not on mute. So my fantasy league, like my guys mentioned, get in there, go use it, play with the app, go do the research on there. And watch the fantasy first rounders, guys. Next is roster construction. Man, roster construction is so important when you're looking at this. Scott Fishbowl has a lot of ins and outs that we'll get to when we get to the scoring systems here in a little bit, and that's what will really turn it on. The Jets, my guys, love the numbers, love the stats, guys. But roster construction it's a super flex league, but you can flex 4 positions and you can flex your 4 kickers in there. So when we look at this, guys, we're looking at, you can start, well, let me just say what it looks like on the board, and then you guys go down and tell the viewers what's kind of going on. Ryan, you start after I go. But you can go 1 to 2 quarterbacks, 2 to 6 running backs, 3 to 7 wide receivers, 1 to 5 tight ends, and 0 to 4 kickers. Total 11 positions starting, 4 flex spots with 11 on the bench. So 22 guys that you're drafting in a slow draft style. And guys, also, if you have never slow drafted before, go in there with an open mind, have some patience, and have fun, obviously. But Ryan, what does this all mean to the viewers who've never played in a league like this?
Yeah, guys, this means that you have a lot of flexibility with who you should be starting and who you can start. I feel like I can speak for everybody here in that you can start 6 running backs in this league. That's insanity. I would also probably assume that everybody here is going to be leaning more heavily towards getting 2 quarterbacks into that roster. The problem is, for me, and this is kind of how I draft all the time, where am I slotting in and what is going on around me? Like, where's the value on the table? I don't usually think I'm going to be getting very many kickers because just for me, I feel like as much as the research that we do and what we put into it, that I'm going to find guys later on higher potential than kickers who have in my opinion, they have a certain ceiling unless you're going to be reaching for the #1 kicker, who really is going to be difficult to predict who the #1 kicker this year is going to be. I like the flexibility. What I think it really does, guys, and I think this is something to pay attention. Every time a kicker goes off the board, that's one more skill guy that's going to be pushing down towards you. So when I look at this format, I'm hoping kickers go early so it can get me my guys later on in the draft. I'm going to go heavy quarterback and running back. Wide receivers, it's just like I got killed by Michael Thomas last year really badly. And unless it's AJB, I'm likely not going to be receiver heavy this year. I really enjoy in formats like this, go after the running backs unless you get really badly slotted, and go get some quarterbacks that you maybe have a little value higher. Like we all kind of like Carson Wentz. I could see myself winding up with Carson Wentz in the Scott Fish Bowl with just a tandem of beast running backs and then two other really good running backs and then some receivers and tight ends. I think you're going to be good. Also, actually, tight end, you can start 5 tight ends. There's a strong argument in a tight end premium to start more tight ends, but it's to me, the running back opportunity is still too much to ignore, and I'm likely going to be RB heavy in any format like this. I can't help myself.
Shout out to the one and only 1.12 in the Journey division, Steffi Smalls in the chat, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We're talking Scott Fishbowl. Billy, you can flex up to 4 kickers. We've seen what kickers can do, obviously, with the decimal point scoring system that kickers are offering. A 55-yard field goal is pretty good, and if you can nail 3 of those in a game, that's pretty good. You're winning weeks off of that. What's your thought process on being able to draft these kickers and put them in your flex position?
It is intriguing if you were to get in a position where you're really deep into wide receivers, and these aren't guys that are necessarily going to get much of an opportunity. However, for me, I'm likely not drafting a kicker, and just something that I might lean on if I struggle to get enough guys into a lineup, bye week issues type of thing, where a kicker might be a guy that gets me like a solid 12-point floor, a guy with a good matchup, something like that. But I'm probably not going to chase kickers. I'd rather have the wide receiver depth and flexibility, or a running back depth and flexibility over trying to flex a kicker. I mean, in a half-point PPR setup, a wide receiver doesn't have to have too big of a day to do what a regular kicker might do. So I'd rather play the odds with the guy that I like his matchup as a receiver or running back situation than a kicker. I'll just probably avoid that for now anyway, but we'll see how it goes.
Fair enough. And Tom, the hottest takes out here. So with the most flexibility in this type of league, super flex, the ability to start all these different numbers. What's your thought process? Because I know you're looking at it at a different angle than probably Ryan, Billy, and myself.
I mean, I am, right? So think about it this way. The biggest thing for me going into this season is realizing how deep receiver gets, right? So like, cool, 3 to 7 receivers. I can get 3 receivers late rounds that are going to put up pretty solid numbers.
Yes.
When I look at kicker and quarterback, I can get a guy like Carson Wentz as my starter, who's very high upside with a pretty solid floor, I think, in Indy, right? And then some, rookie quarterback or just long shot, a guy like Gardner Minshew or a Drew Lock or Teddy Bridgewater on my bench that I'm maybe as my number 2 quarterback. But then at kicker, if you can get them, because maybe in your league, those kickers start dropping, right? Nobody wants to go in on one. The Justin Tuckers, the Zane Gonzalez of the league, that are young boys that are kicking 50-yard field goals at a relatively decent pace. They're going to be the guys I want, because 10 to 15 points steady a week is good, but those guys are pushing 15 plus a game. That's solid flex opportunity at the kicker position. So if I could get a couple top tier kickers late in the draft, I'm all in on it.
Sorry, we're going to go off on a tangent real quick because my man over here, Clock Management, Justin, says he don't like the 12th man because of the Seahawks boy. Real quick, the real 12th man is Texas A&M Aggies. Go read a book real quick, Justin. That's okay, though. I'll send it to you. But we will talk about what these 12s will have to deal with, guys. These 12s will have to deal with something that most people don't. Not a lot of home leagues. In fact, most home leagues don't do this. But this is obviously something fun that Scott Fish has added. We're talking about a 3rd round reversal. Man, look at Joe Burrow. Look at T. Higgins looking fly right there. I like that right there, guys. So the 3rd round reversal is going to be a little bit different, right? What that means is in the 3rd round, it literally reverses. So the person in the seat 12 will get to pick twice at that 12 position, going from the, what would that be, the 12 dot or the 2.12 to the 3.1. How much of an advantage is that, Billy? Because you're sitting at 1.11, so that's a pretty big advantage in my mind, right? What are you thinking? What's your thought process on that?
Yeah, pretty similar situation at that 1.11. So giving me that 111, 2-2, and then because of the reversal, the second pick in the third round as well. So you get 3 of the top 16 picks, which is really attractive. I mean, you're not going to get your CMCs, your really top-notch guys, maybe not Saquon, but when you get 2 guys that high, 3 of the top 16, you can really do some damage. You can try to exploit the tight end advantage with the half a point PPR bonus or the half a point bonus for a first down reception. You can snag your quarterback. You can also get a top flight running back in there too. Mix it up, or you can attack something real heavy and get 3 really, really, really top notch running backs or receivers, depending on how you like to draft. I'm really liking the flexibility it's given me. The wheels are really, really turning as I try to consider what I might be doing. But after those first 3, you got to sit us that strong bit because of that reversal. 20 selections before it makes it back to me in the first round. But then I have 2 of the top couple after that leading back. So pretty exciting situation. But we'll see how it goes. For me, I'm really just ecstatic about the options that I have at the different positions to kind of spread the wealth and get a nice solid base per the scoring system in the Scott Fish Bowl.
Clock management, Justin, we need to do some mock drafts with you then. You've obviously got the mentality and you've been doing it for 8 years. I need to pick your brain. Billy, we need to pick his brain on this because everyone should be watching Justin on this. Let's do some mock drafts. I like that. I've never done a third round reversal before, so we're going to have to get in on that. Obviously, you can get some mock drafts going in with your chats and stuff like that. The way this is set up, guys, the way that Scott Fishes have the point set up, we were talking about this. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But what are y'all thinking about as far as draft strategy? Because you know how we like to draft running backs heavy. In super flex leagues, we like to not be quarterback poor. Obviously, shoot low on the tight end. The wide receiver is deep. How does this change your draft strategies, guys? Ryan, I want to talk to you because you and I have most of very similar styles. So going into this, what would you be doing?
Yeah, I am, again, coming into this, I touched on this earlier. I want a running back if I can help it, unless I see Josh Allen sliding or a Mahomes sliding. I would be fine with snagging him also. Otherwise, I'll be trying to get a Brady or, again, later on a Wentz or a D. Jones later on. Running back, as many running backs as I can. Now, if I'm sitting at 11 like Billy and 10 straight running backs go, I'm not so certain I'm going to be hopping on that train, and I may be trying to get a stud quarterback or 2, depending on the running backs available. Because I could easily see myself, if I'm at pick 11 like Billy is right now, and I see 10 running backs go off the board, which, I mean, let's be realistic with the amount of divisions they're in. This is not an impossibility. This could happen, technically. So if I see something like that happen, I may be looking at like quarterback and Kelsey, or, quarterback if I see my QB1 and my QB2 there, because the floors that quarterbacks have are generally just what I'm looking for a week in, week out type of a situation like this. 2 quarterbacks, great. At 11, that may be where I end up, unless there's running backs on the board like a Nick Chubb at 11 that I can snag, or like I've seen Saquon drop. We were talking about this earlier. Saquon drop into like 8 or 9. That's if something like that happens, you hit the jackpot. But if not, you may have to look at. For me, I would look at going quarterback, then maybe a tight end or another quarterback, and really just hoping on that third reversal that I can get a running back that I might have had to take at 11 because everybody else has got their running back around you. So you might lose the running back on the turn. You might see somebody go 2 running backs, but I don't think the value is there at 11 to get the 11th best running back when you can get the best quarterback and the best tight end. That's going to be where I'm looking at if some scenario like that happens. That being said, I can see Kelsey going before 11. I can see Allen, Mahomes, maybe Lamar Jackson, Kyler. You'll probably have a good running back at 11, and that would make me the most happy because I would love to just triple down on running backs. That would be a great way to start off any draft.
That's how I want to start my draft. I don't want to divulge too much, but I am in the 7th position. So, Billy, what are your thoughts because I don't want you to have to, discuss on what you would do because that's your strategy, right? So what would you do if you were in the middle of the draft, right? Sitting at 7, call it 7, asking for a friend type style, right? So what would you do sitting at 7?
At 7, for me, I'm going to focus on the running back position, and I really don't have to worry too much later in the draft about the reversal. You don't really get a whole lot of a change. Luckily, you're sitting right smack dab in the middle kind of. So essentially for me, kind of business as usual. I'm getting that top-notch running back and locking it down and hoping that a quarterback sneaks through a little bit in that second round back to me. But I got to have that running back at that top-notch pick. I mean, later on in the draft, that 10-12 range, maybe those top-flight running backs are gone in your opinion, but this is not that situation. I imagine with Superflex, there's going to be a quarterback or two gone in that top 7 for sure. So you're going to get one of those top flight running backs that I just think you have to have to really, you got to have your horses if you want to win something like this.
Now, real quick, Billy, going running back, right, as I would do, would you, I don't know, probably turn around in that second and third round and maybe go back-to-back running or quarterback and then in the fourth go running back? Would that be too crazy? What are your thoughts on that?
No, I do think with the quarterback's 6-point passing touchdowns, it's not ever a bad choice to get a quarterback locked up early. However, I think you have to be selective because of the negatives with the interceptions. In this platform, you're losing 4 points for every interception. That's a pretty big shot, and an extra 2 more points if it's a pick 6. So this kind of separates some of those quarterbacks. The young guys that you like may not be the most efficient, and this scoring system really awards that efficiency. Not taking sacks, that's a -1. No interceptions, -4 for interceptions. Kind of cut you down to the company that you want to be drafting if you're taking that high just because of that big shot -4. I mean, really, that almost erases a touchdown pass. Pretty solid there. So if I'm doing quarterback, I'm being very selective, but I do think you have to have one before that reversal happens because the guys that are sitting on the back end of that are probably going to be trying to snag a quarterback there.
Absolutely. Shout out to Joshua in the chat. Joshua, you know how I like to go running back so heavily. I was thinking the exact same thing. I would probably go, I'm sitting at the 7, so I'm probably going to go, Journey Division in the house. There we go, my guys. Thanks for tuning in. God, now I'm going to go give my draft strategy away, but that's okay. Thank you for tuning in. I will give you my draft strategy if you guys tune in to watch me. Thank you so much. So, guys, at that 7 position, I'm going to go running back. There ain't no doubt about it. So, if you want a running back, you're not going to get him if you're behind me. In the second and the reversal, I'm going quarterback all day. So get your guys before Pinto comes because at Aggie Kappa Sig, sitting at that 1.7, the fantasy first rounder style, running back, quarterback, and I practice what I preach. Now, Tom, you would probably be the one guy that's sitting at the front of the draft. You're always lucky like that, 1-1, 1-2, 1-3. If you're sitting at the front of this draft, where are you going?
Oh, man. I'll tell you what, it makes it a little tough, right? So first 2 rounds, you're beginning and end of the second, right? First, beginning of the first, end of the second. Personally, I'm in on running backs or the very, very, very high-end receivers, as Ryan talked about, that AJB type guy, right? Somebody that's really going to make a difference on your team. Going into the 3rd round, though, you're right back at the top. Personally, if you're at the top of the 3rd, I'm passing on quarterback. I'm not as in on the Mahomes as much as, again, I love him, right? I like Patrick Mahomes. I like the guys at the top there, but I'm not sold on it. Really not sold on a Lamar Jackson type guy at the top of the 3rd even. If you watch the show, I don't like Lamar. I wouldn't recommend taking him in the top 3 rounds or even the top 4 or 5 rounds. But I digress. I will say probably, 4th round, end of the 4th is where I'm going to start to look at quarterback, right? I'm going to start to look at guys that are kind of those mid-round guys. Everyone starts to pass on them because they're not those, number 1 quarterbacks that people are thinking of, top 10 necessarily in the rankings, but they're going to put up solid points. They're going to do the 20 points a week. And then following that, probably around, to be honest, 7th, 8th, 9th round, I'm going to start looking kicker. I'm going to look at the Justin Tuckers because I've done the numbers and he averages in the teens, right? He's averaging 12, 13, 14, 15 points a game. A guy that puts up multiple 50-yarders a week doesn't really miss. The biggest detraction from you in this type of league is going to be missed field goals. You're looking at -3 points per missed field goals. Justin Tucker, you look at his history, the lowest he really has is about 89% over the last 5 years, missing about 3-4 field goals a year, and then 1 or 2 extra points. A really uncommon thing for him to lose you fantasy points. So a guy like that actually could go a long way in this league. Somebody that you don't have to worry about week in and week out scoring in the teens. And hey, a great game. I'll tell you what, I've seen Justin Tucker score close to 20 points in a game because they're just kicking field goal after field goal. Again, Lamar Jackson is not it. Justin Tucker scores their points.
I'm curious.
Draft strategy.
Happened. If you're watching, that was the first time it's happened. I go on mute very often because I drink water. I do things behind, and I don't want to come across my microphone and coming across all these guys while they're talking. These kickers making me not want to draft a running back right now. Wanting me to draft all these kickers. Look at this. The graphic over here. I got Youngway. I got the leg. I got Harrison. I got Justin Tucker right here. I mean, I'm getting jazzed up over here. I know that Billy and Ryan always get me jazzed up about tight ends, get me informed about that kind of stuff. Tom, we need to talk more kickers, man.
Yo, hang on. I want to know. I genuinely do not know. Is there a way? I don't know if MFL has it. We talked about how customizable it is. Can you get points for onside kicks recovered? Because if so, Young Hoku down in Atlanta is number 1 overall pick.
No way, man.
I
want to know,
overall, but get
guys,
the point. That man.
Here's the thing.
This is Pat McAfee 2.0.
Here's my curiosity, right? And I wonder who has these numbers because the scoring format for Scott Fish, where did the kickers finish at the end of the year compared to where were they?
That's interesting as hell.
40th place. Did anybody get in the top 40? Where was the highest ranked kicker? And I don't know where we could go.
Man, I'll do some math on Justin Tucker. I'm going to take a wild guess and say he's probably pretty close to the No, I'll do the scoring. Give me a minute here. I got you.
According to Fantasy Pros, Jason Sanders was the number 1 kicker in total points last year with 172 points, but that's not the same scoring system. So what I'm curious about, and again, 172 points, if your running back got you 172 points on a year, you'd be ticked off if you drafted him high. And you see what I mean? What kind of a ceiling are we looking at here with this?
So you said Justin Sanders, right?
What is the Scott Fish? Yeah, the Jason Sanders,
right.
And it's the Scott
Jason
Fish
Sanders.
scoring system.
Ryan, you ask and you shall receive, sir. The Scott Fishbowl 11 scoring systems brought to you by Scott Fishbowl and divulged to you by the Fantasy First Rounders. Here you go. Let's take it all in, right? We've got some crazy things going on. We're going to make it big right now so everyone that's watching can check this all out, right? For passing, as you can see, we've got 6-point passing TDs, -4 for an interception, -2 for an interception for a TD. So that stacks, right? 1 point for 25, so 0.04, 2 points for 2-point conversions, -1 for a sack, -1 for an incompletion, but 0.5 per completion. So volume matters, right, guys? Like we always say with the running back, volume matters. So going to running backs now, 6 point for a rushing TD, 1 point for 10 yards rushing, 2 points for 2-point conversion. So you're straight octopus for an octopus. Go J.K. Dobbins, rookie octopus season. Let's go, baby. Sophomore season. And 0.5 per first down, right? So volume matters, right? Volume matters. Stats matter. Stats are going to win you spaceships here with the Fantasy First Rounders. We'll get to kickers in a second, but receiving, right? 6-point receiving touchdown, 1 point for 10 yards, so 0.1, 2 points for 2-point conversion, straight octopus again. And now you get a 0.5 extra for your first down conversion as a 0.5 reception, 2.5 point for the wide receiver position. Tight end, as you would think, gets a premium in Scott Fishbowl, guys. You get the premium for the 0.5 after the first down and a 0.5 for the reception. So essentially making it 1 point PPR for a tight end, and yes, a 0.5 extra for a first down. So if Billy was talking to me earlier and we were talking about Travis Kelce, is that pretty much a no-brainer in the 1 and 2? Or I'm sorry, at the back end of the 1-2? Yes, I believe so. I believe he should go right there. Guys, looking at this, we'll take this down now. Oh, real quick, like we mentioned earlier, sorry guys, this is live. You know, I don't get to practice this kind of stuff. So decimal scoring, right, for field goals. So a 37-yard field goal equals 3.7 points, 1 point for an extra point. Like Tom mentioned, this is where it gets a little gray area, right? -3 points for a missed field goal and -1 for a missed extra point, guys. The format scoring is pretty difficult because this is not normal, and like I've mentioned, it's all unique to this. So Tom, we'll get to you last because I know you're over there doing some math on camera, on screen. So, Billy, first, your thoughts looking at this. What are your thoughts on the scoring systems? What can our listeners utilize as well?
So, one thing that, you know, if you're splitting hairs on some guys down the list a little bit, let me just pull up my notes here. Just looking at some of the stuff with that what really interested me was that half point per first down on a rush or a reception. So just looking at some of the guys across the league, Derrick Henry had 98 first downs, Dalvin Cook 91, and then third was Jonathan Taylor at 69 and a whole lot less carries. Jonathan Taylor, just an absurd number, 29.74% of his carries resulted in a first down. So that's an extra half point on basically 1 out of every 3 carries that Jonathan Taylor has. Had just over 200 carries last year. Expect him to be more in the high 200s, low 300s this year. That's a pretty good number, putting him right up there with the elites. But Dalvin Cook, 29.16, Derrick Henry, 26%. So these guys are in really good shape. And then kind of a sleeper that's down the list just a little bit on this subject is J.K. Dobbins. He had 38 first downs on only 134 carries last year. So just an incredible little thing to help split some hairs as you dig through this and try to navigate these things. So also another thing, a little nod to the quarterback, Lamar Jackson and Kyler Murray, kind of the 2 premier rushing guys. Another little bit to chase these guys down earlier for you. 35% of Lamar Jackson's carries are first downs, almost 39.1% for Kyler Murray. So that's a huge deal. That's an extra, half a point on 40% of Kyler Murray's rushes. And hey, he's already a guy you're drafting because of that upside. So looking at the receivers, you know, there's some guys like DK Metcalf, almost 76%, nearing 80% of his catches are first downs, a guy that we expect to see some progression with, and a guy that really sticks out up the list that probably shouldn't be there just with the company you're not typically seeing him with is Allen Robinson, 4th best catch percentage for first down at the wide receiver position, 6th overall in the league. It's a pretty big deal, considering a guy like Juju having 20 less first down kickers. So kind of a cool thing, makes it a little more interesting getting down the list at tight ends. Travis Kelce and Darren Waller obviously already in their own category alone with being the only 2 tight ends with 100-plus receptions. George Kittle being kind of the next guy in that realm. He's still a guy that gets in the mid-80s even in his better years. But Travis Kelce and Darren Waller, 75%, 64% of their 105, 107 receptions in 2020 were first downs, further, exploding the value of these guys, especially at that tight end position, really separating them from the rest of the pack. So that's one thing that I found really, really interesting, helped split some hairs down the line. And, hey, Allen Robinson, a guy up there right with Devontae Adams and Nuke and those guys at the top of the league for percentage of their catches for first down. So just a little added bonus with those guys that already get a lot of volume.
The added bonuses are what's going to set you apart from everybody else in this huge, massive tournament right now. So that benefit is huge. You need to go look into that. That's why you tune into the show, guys, for these little nuances, these little extra bits, because stats win spaceships. Look at Billy in that spaceship up there. Ryan Hicks, my man, my brother. Okay, I want to talk to you about something real quick. The passing, right? The -4 for an interception, coupled with the TD stuff right there, right? Having an efficient quarterback is extremely important right now. When you're looking at these guys, does that mean a guy like our guy, Ryan Tannehill, a guy like Kirk Cousins is going to sneak up your draft board before somebody else who, or like Tom Brady, who I know that we've had our spouts about back and forth. Also, talk a little about these returns and how that can help you, like in your, like just help you, that it just adds extra, right? So, like we said, you always want a little bit incremental business. We'll get you to the ship, baby. What are your thoughts, Ryan?
Yeah, I just have to go over one thing real quick. As we were going over this, curiosity overtook me as I was trying to find where these stats would be for who scored the most in the Scott Fish Bowl format. And then I took a look at the top 5 scoring teams from last year, and they all had one thing in common. None of them had a kicker. Not a single one of them. And I'm betting that if I kept going, that trend would hold. So that's just something to consider, that last year, not a one of them had a kicker. I noticed a lot of elite quarterbacks on those teams. One had Wilson and Mahomes. The number 1 team had Wilson and Mahomes. Like, that's, man. Oh, for last year, they just added kickers this season. Gotcha. Then none of them have kickers in the entire draft last year. So it's got to be a bad idea, right? It's got to be. Thank you, Joshua. I didn't realize they just added this year. I didn't get in last year either. So the question was about quarterbacks and pick sixes. So obviously I'm going to be really hesitant about a quarterback like a Jameis Winston. And really what this made me think is that Aaron Rodgers, because where he's going now, because it's really nobody knows where he is, might be the most valuable. He doesn't throw interceptions. So this is going to push Rodgers up my list. I mean, he's the all-time leader on interceptions by far. It's not even close. Touchdown to interception ratio, it's bonkers. He was the MVP last year, 49 touchdowns. I mean, he was right there with the 50 touchdown club, deserved an MVP. I don't think he's going to miss football this year. He's just getting too old, and he has a legacy and the whole field goal thing. So as I was thinking about this interception rule when you were asking this question, it just made me think Aaron Rodgers. It made me think, man, yeah, I was keep looking. I didn't realize that there was no kickers last year because, again, I didn't get in last year. But what I'm saying is Aaron Rodgers is a guy that I am now, when I get into this, I am going to be looking at Rodgers, because unless some news comes out between now and then that he is playing or is not playing, I think he's well worth the risk in this interception and pick six formula. But again, like Josh was saying, accurate and less mobile QBs can still be productive. Instantly, I think about Brady. Like, Brady in this will be a good quarterback to have, and that's the kind of quarterback that you might see slip in because people look at the rushing floor and don't like it, but his potential for negative plays is so low comparatively. So, yeah, quarterback is so important. Like, Tom, earlier when you were talking about getting a QB in round 4, I'm not sure who's going to be there, man. I really don't know if there's going to be a quarterback in round 4 available that's going to make me happy. Maybe Daniel Jones, but I don't think Brady's going to be there. Wentz might not even be there. I think that almost every quarterback or every team will have addressed QB at least one time. And some of them, like what we were referencing earlier, might be addressing them 2 times in the second and third, or in the first and second, or first and third. As I look at the high scoring teams, they all had a pair of really good quarterbacks. So for me, get one that doesn't, again, Jameis Winston, I'm not really into him this year. What I'm into is an Aaron Rodgers, the Tom Brady, those accurate guys. Josh Allen throwing 70%. That's going to make me happy as well, because he also has that rushing floor. So yeah, that's something to keep in consideration, is those high pick guys, especially those pick six guys who make those. That's just that's a silly throw most of the time. You got to be aware of that. That's something that the interceptions punish you much more in this format than in almost any other format that I've been in.
I'm going to give you guys my guy. I might as well just do it right now, because if you think about it too much, you're going to guess it. It's going to be Ryan Tannehill, right? This guy, I got to get him. I have to come away with Ryan Tannehill in my draft. So if I have to reach, I'm going to have to reach for Ryan Tannehill. But, Tom, I know you were doing some numbers over here. You were stretching behind the scenes, getting warmed up, doing some what on your Peloton real quick, running the Lance Armstrong Tour de France real quick. So, Tom, what do you have on this, man? What are you thinking?
All right, so real quick, I gotta touch on the quarterback situation, right? So Ryan talked about Aaron Rodgers there. This is a man that does not throw pick sixes, right? He might throw an interception or two, but go in and look at the stats. I don't have them in front of me here. That was not the numbers I was running, but Aaron Rodgers pick sixes He doesn't throw them. And if you go watch the film, you find out why. That man will go chase somebody down and take them down to make sure he does not throw a pick six. It is only an interception, right? So that's where Aaron Rodgers comes in. But as far as kickers go, we're talking about that. So kicking stats, a bit of a pain in the ass, right? Decimal scoring here for field goals. So a 37-yarder, we have the example there, is 3.7 points. 1 point for extra points, -3 for missed field goal, -1 for missed extra points. So ran the stats off of the top scorer last year, which was Jason Sanders, albeit getting the exact distance for each kick, a little bit of a difficult situation. So did the math based on the tens, right? So if he kicked a 50-plus yard kick, doing the math on a 5 points, 40-plus yard kick, 4 points, 30-plus 3, 20-plus is 2, extra points and missed field goals accounted for. Ryan, I believe you said his number in Scott Fishbowl would have been about 127 points last year in standard scoring.
172.
172?
Uh-huh.
So without adjusting for any decimals, we're at 152, right?
Yeah, I'm sure that's like
guess,
at 190 or so.
I'm going to guess it's about 190, 200 without accounting for, again, I'm going off of 40 points for anything that's over between 40 and 49 yards.
Right.
So looking like he's pushing 200 points probably pretty easily as the top scoring kicker last year. You'd assume that guys like Justin Tucker, guys that don't miss, are going to be up there. That's going to be your biggest detractor is if you miss field goals. So if you are looking to get kickers, which like we've said, that's 200 points late in a draft isn't a bad opportunity to take, right? You're in the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th round. That's something that I would absolutely look at as somebody that I'm pretty confident is going to score those points. So looking at a kicker that does not miss extra points, does not miss field goals, is somebody I would absolutely consider over a receiver that necessarily has low floor, high upside in a format like this, because I want those short points, especially somebody on a team like Baltimore that can't get in the end zone because Lamar sucks.
Okay, look. The Lamar
sucks episode.
Okay, because I don't talk that much about Josh Allen, okay, and he's only this much better than him and then Lamar Jackson for me. So the Lamar Jackson slander stops, Tom. It just stops. Okay, I don't know if you're still signed in to my StreamYard, right, where you can unmute yourself, but I can do this right now. So I don't know if you can make yourself bigger. But guys, Ryan Tannehill, go get him, right? Saquon Barkley, go get him, right?
Oh yeah.
Who else we got? Guys? We got
JTT.
JTT, go get him. Oh, there we go too, right? Let's hit Billy. Okay, hit Billy.
So, hey, one little tidbit on Lamar Jackson. Number 10 in the NFL in rushing first downs. That half-point addition for that. Another reason why Lamar Jackson might be more and more of a viable option in this format as well. I know, Tom, not your guy, but hey, almost 60 first downs rushing from your quarterback is a nice little boost to a guy with really high rushing upside as it is.
Absolutely agree with that, man. So if anybody has, yes, it is also 0.5 for the running backs. If anybody has any questions about anything, you can always find us at the Fantasy First Rounders. Our DMs are always open. Guys, this was a really quick episode for us, a really quick stream. We got our little, suit and tie. Thank you for the support. We'll see y'all next week type of little graphic. Show that for everybody. Guys, we are the Fantasy First Rounders at FFR Tom, at Aggie Kappa Sig, at Real Ryan Hicks, at BWitt24. Man, we appreciate you guys coming in, stopping in, talking to us about the Scott Fish Bowl 11. Guys, anything you want to say, anything you were working on, sign-ups, anything like that? Ryan, why don't you start us?
Yeah, obviously working on the St. Jude Bowl, trying to get those divisions knocked out, trying to get as many people in as fast as we can so we can even get more divisions because, again, we want to raise more money for St. Jude, and that's more money for the winner as well. 1,200 and 1,200 last year. So let's see how high we can get those numbers to go, how much money we can raise. Also, so excited for Pinto and Billy to be in the Scott Fish Bowl. Hopefully I can get in, but if not, I know y'all are going to do some damage. I would just like to be there doing it with you. Same for you, Tom. Hopefully we can get in, but I'm so excited that 2 of us are in it this year. We'll make some noise in that this year. So good luck, guys. I'm going to be watching y'all's drafts for sure.
For sure. Tom, FFR Tom, what are you working on? What's going on? What can everyone follow you at?
As always, on Twitter at FFR Tom. What are we working on? There's a lot behind the scenes that you guys aren't seeing that we're working on right now. Pinto, I don't want to blow up anything here and say something I shouldn't. But
say whatever you want, Tom. They're all family that's watching us. I told you. Everyone who's watching is fine. They're tuning into us.
Have you seen the video of Tom after the Super Bowl when Philly won?
Yeah, I don't know if you want me saying whatever I want. But what I'll say is this. We have plenty of leagues that we're working on. Obviously, the biggest one is St. Jude Bowl. We do also still have a 32-team league that we're working on. Still need some teams to fill it up. If you're an in-depth guy, you really want to dive into fantasy football, IDP, really working on trades, free agency, a lot of different moves, hit us up on Twitter, either at FFR, Tom, any of us, or our main pages. Share us a message if you're even interested. We can give you some of the details and dive into it with you.
Yes, I can't wait.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun one. It's just finding people that are really into diving in depth into it. So hit us up for that one. And obviously, based on my initial start there, we got some big stuff in the works. I don't want to be the one to break it too early here. So,
Billy, you're up, sir.
Yeah, right now just working on the St. Jude Bowl. So keep your eyes peeled for when we release the registration ability for the Guillotine and the Vampire Leagues. Those are going to be a lot of fun. So if you're listening to us and want to play with us, this is a way to get involved. And, we like to get to know some of you guys that pay attention week in, week out as well. So just excited to be getting the St. Jude Bowl back in the swing of things. Year 2. Things are filling up. If you're registering, we're seeing it. Ryan and I are manning it, doing as much as we can. And Joshua Cho, hey, man, thanks for joining us and coming back again. A ton of returning competitors, which is always awesome to see. A lot of excitement around the people getting back in. So if you haven't joined us for it yet, don't miss out. It's a really fun event. We really do kind of roll out the red carpet and make a big effort to interact and be a part of the league just as much as we are competing in the league. So come check that out. And, hey, I can't wait to see Tom get going in this Vampire League, man. That's going to be a fun one. Don't miss out getting a slot in that. That's going to be a great time.
For sure, guys. I'm at I have a sig. You can always find me on Twitter somewhere. Fantasy First Rounders. I'm starting to do some IDP stuff for Expand the Box Store and data training with FTN Data. Guys, my guys are the best around, right? So I made it into Scott Fish Bowl. Billy made it in. If there's any way anyone's watching, my guys, Tom and Ryan, deserve a shot to get into the Scott Fish Bowl. If there's an opportunity for them to get in, let's get them in, guys. So thank you so much. Obviously, if you follow us on Twitter, you've seen what I've been doing. I obviously don't do too much social media stuff. I'm pretty close. Keep it with my guys, right? But there's an opportunity, right? This is a hobby for most of us, and we want to turn it into a career. I took the opportunity and I seized it. So I am blasting myself, putting it on, up front. Go check it out. The next big fantasy thing. It's on my Twitter. I follow it. Guys, I'm putting myself out there. I'm going to win it if given the opportunity. That's why you guys watch us. You know what we do. You know who we are. We're the Fantasy First Rounders. Ryan, Tom, Billy, it's a good week. I'll check y'all next week. Later, guys.